Welcome. Thank you for joining me today in this digital devotional as we continue in our study of the book of Romans. Have you ever looked at our world and wondered, how did things get this bad, this broken, this crazy? News headlines, social media, even conversations in our own neighborhoods or even families can leave us shaking our heads. Well, Paul answers that question in Romans 1. When people turn away from God, chaos and confusion doesn't just happen in the world around us. It happens in us ourselves, in our minds, in our hearts. Romans 1 verses 28 through 32 says this, "And since they did not see fit to acknowledge God, God gave them up to a debased mind to do what ought not to be done. They were filled with all manner of unrighteousness, evil, covetousness, malice. They're full of envy, murder, strife, deceit, malice. They're gossips, slanderers, haters of God, insolent, haughty, boastful, inventors of evil, disobedient to parents, foolish, faithless, heartless, ruthless. Though they know God's righteous decree that those who practice such things deserve to die, they do not only do them, but they give approval to those who practice them." Paul here in these long verses points out the depths of humanity's downward spiral as we reject God. First, he describes a corrupted mind. God gave them up to a debased mind. This means the ability to think rightly about right and wrong is broken. When we refuse to acknowledge God, our moral compass loses its true north. The second thing he describes is a corrupted life. The long list of sins isn't random. It's evidence of a heart and mind out of alignment with God. Notice how relational the sins are. Things like deceit, gossip, arrogance, disobedience, heartlessness. Sin always damages relationships, both with God and with people. And thirdly, Paul describes a corrupted culture. Verse 32 is the chilling conclusion that not only do people do these things, they celebrate them. Wrong becomes right. Sin becomes virtue. That's the sign that the sickness has reached the whole system. These verses in Romans 1, they're like a mirror held up to our world and even to our own hearts. Recognize the pattern. When God is ignored, thinking darkens and behavior follows. So we need to resist despair. The purpose of this passage isn't to make us hopeless, but to show our desperate need for God. And we need to return to Christ because only the gospel can renew the mind and restore what sin has corrupted and destroyed. Romans doesn't end here. It begins here so that we will see throughout this book how good the good news really is. Romans 1 ends on a sobering note, a world that calls evil good and good evil. But this darkness makes the next chapter shine even brighter, because into this world God has sent his Son not to condemn but to save the world, because only in him can our minds be renewed, our hearts softened, and our lives transformed. And so as we set up the bad news, we begin to get prepared to hear and respond to the good news. Friends, I'll see you next time.